Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I thought I would do another swatch video for you guys. I should really put these in a playlist. That would make them a bit easier to find. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a swatch of this Juvia'S Place palette. It's the Magic palette. And I know they've got like half a dozen palettes or so on Beauty Bay. But I chose this one because I saw like what I thought were like a good variety of colours that I thought like I could create some good looks with. But I've heard really good things about these palettes. I've heard they're super pigmented and that they last really well, so I'm properly interested. So basically this palette's supposed to be a mix of like cool and warm tones, a mix of matte and shimmers, and the website says it's inspired by a sun goddess and a moon goddess, which are represented on here. Not sure how that works. Suppose perhaps the moon one is like cool tones and the sun one is a warm tone, so perhaps like on each side that's how it will be. But we'll see when we open it up. So if you're interested in seeing this palette swatched wet and dry, then please keep on watching. And if you like this video or these kind of videos, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel before you leave. And if you press that notification bell, you'll be notified every time I upload. But the palette just looks exactly like the box, although it's like plain on the back. It hasn't got all that fancy writing. But it is really big. It's like the size of my head. And there's only 16 shades. So let's have a look together. I'm flying. Ooh, sorry, I was looking at my thing because I couldn't see it, but like, look at that pan size. Like, look in comparison to like my finger, that is massive. And I love that it's got like the little names underneath. I love that about that, but there's such a gorgeous mix of tones. So I get what it means by like the sun and the moon thing. So I think what it means is like, oh, your warm tones here, inspired by the sun and all that rubbish, and all your cool tones here. Now these names I might butcher. You'll have to forgive me. But also it's got like the little front bit on the inside of the palette, which I think is like such a cute little touch. Although I think if you're paying 30 quid, I might have liked a mirror. So this isn't probably going to be the most like travel friendly palette in the world unless you're going to bring something else with a mirror in. But your palette is normally your place where you have like the biggest mirror. So I think that's probably one of the only problems so far that I've noticed. So just by counting, it looks like there's 6 mattes and 10 shimmers. And normally that's like a little bit of a too high a distribution of shimmers for me. But I kind of see why. They are all quite pretty and quite different. I think I might have liked maybe one of the paler blues to be a matte shade. I think that's what I'd be looking for here. I think that's what's missing, and maybe like a matte pink shade. I feel like you're going to be popping an eyeshadow on your eyes, wet, dry, and probably with your finger. I haven't been swatching it with my finger, I've just been swatching them wet and dry. So I think for the shimmer shades, which is the ones that I would be putting on with my finger normally, I might swatch them with my finger as well, because I feel like that's how I apply a lot of them, and I think it's unfair to just base it off application with a brush when I know that I'm going to be applying it with my finger half of the time anyway. So first I'm going to dip into this shadow here, Nubia. That is, I almost swore on camera, that is how gorgeous that is. You know how I feel like through this palette I'm going to be wanting to apply every shadow to my eye? So I'm going to hold off grabbing the brush and start packing it on. Like, I'm not going to be doing that. That's a dream anyway. But look at that. Gorgeous, a bright like gold colour. That puts all the other gold shadows to shame. It's like a problem. So like with all my normal swatch videos, the brush I'm going to be swatching with is the number 7 eye colour brush. Now that's not going on obviously like quite as well. This is why I did it with my finger, because I know I'm probably going to be applying these glittery shadows with my finger. It's not going on half as well with the brush dry. It's still got that shimmer, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite as pigmented. So now I'm going to apply it to the arm wet. The beauty of applying shadows wet as well is it's going to have less fallout if they tend to have fallout, and it's going to stick to the lid a bit better. So that's definitely better. Like, you can see initially where it was most wet, it had a bit more pigment than it did dry. But I feel like you'd have to like still dip your brush a few times more. Overall, this is just better already with a finger, like it's just like a no-brainer. So next we're going to dip into Zakaya. I'm going to say Zakaya. So this is Zakaya with a dry brush, I'm not putting the mattes on with my finger because I feel like that's not how you're actually going to apply it in real life. But this is nice and pigmented. It's like an orangey red and it's just so pretty. Like I would use these two for like a sunset look. That's totally what I'd be going for. And this is what it's inspired by, you know? So that wet is just kind of a bit deeper. I don't know how much like I'd use that wet as like a bold forefront colour. If I was doing like a completely matte look, I'd use that wet. And that will be super strong and gorgeous. I think it's beautiful. I absolutely love it. Like it's like a gorgeous matte colour and it's a colour I use quite a bit actually. I'm so glad that it like is super pigmented. Next I'm going to dip into the colour Ozone. I'm going to go for Ozone. Again, because this is a shimmer, I'm going to swatch with my finger. Gorgeous pale pink. And again, the perfect way to apply it. Look at that. It's perfect. I think it's so pretty. I think that's such a cute like summer colour. So this is it applied dry, and actually that one's really pretty as well. Like it's not massively different dry than it is like swatched with a finger, and I think that's really nice actually. So you could totally just apply this colour with the brush. I would definitely say that. Although I think you're going to have a little bit more fallout to contend with if you do it that way. So this is the same colour wet. Look at that. They're applying near enough the same. This is a little bit deeper wet, but they're applying near enough the same. They don't look much different at all. If I had to pick wet, definitely. You're not going to get that fallout and you have that precise application. It's a little bit deeper, so it definitely depends on like the look you're going for. But I'm sure if it dried out, it would be paler. But regardless, I think it's just such a pretty colour. And I like it that deep actually. It's definitely just a little bit off the baby pink that these two are, but it's gorgeous. So next I'm going to dip into this nude colour here, Kezzy. So this is going to be like super pale and like a transition-y colour. It's not going to show up super well on my skin. I can see where I've applied it, but like it's so pale that it kind of blends in with my skin, so it's difficult to kind of say how it's going to look on other skin tones. But this is definitely like a super pale transition-y colour, and it's really nice dry, and I think that's definitely how it's intended to be used. So let's see if it shows up a bit more wet. Definitely, like it's definitely like much deeper. Yeah, so it's definitely like much deeper, peachy brown. Looks really nice, although I don't know how like often you would use this wet. I feel like if you wanted like a smoky eye, you could use this to like keep the inner corner like quite pale and neutral, which I think would look really pretty. Although I don't know that you necessarily need that wet for it. However, you could also use it wet for that purpose if you want that kind of colour in your inner corner. So next we're going to dip into Zuba here, which in the pan looks like a bit more of a darker pink. So this one isn't quite as shimmery, I feel like, as the others. I think it's still like really pretty, and if you like a hot pink, that's fine. But I don't know that it's necessarily quite as pigmented. I don't know that I like it quite as much as of yet. No, it's just swatching really badly dry, like you can see. It just doesn't look that good dry. I definitely wouldn't apply this dry. You just don't see much of the pigment. So let's have a look at it wet. It's applying a bit better wet, but it's also kind of looking the same as it does swatched with a finger, although a little bit deeper. Not massively impressive, not something I'd reach for. So next we're going to dip into this really nice kind of warm transition-y shade, Nana. So this is a really nice pigmented browny transition-y shade. It's kind of like a browny orange, which I think is going to go really well with a lot of these looks. You could create like a browny nude glittery eye look, or you could create like a warm sunset look with this. So this is the colour Wet. It's definitely very different in comparison to the other shades. The other shades weren't that different. This is definitely more deep, more warm. It just kind of shows it as like a different colour completely. It shows it as it is in the pan actually, but I think Wet, you wouldn't use this as a crease colour, you'd use this as like a main colour on the lid. So next we're going to dip into this shade here, Boronu. That is gorgeous. It's much deeper than Nubia, and it's just really nice. It's more like a bronzy shade, but that is gorge. I would wear that. I would wear that every day. I feel like with how powdery these shadows are in the pan is how you can like tell how they're going to be, like how they're going to perform. See, again, you got a bit of the shimmer, but you haven't got like much of the pigment dry. I don't feel like these shimmers perform like super well dry, generally speaking. That is pretty nice wet. I feel like you'd have to like dip in another time, like you have to with one or two of the other shadows wet, just to get that like payoff. So next we're going to go into this deeper light reddy shade here, Kogi. I feel like this is definitely a bit more like a reddy pink. This is probably a bit more like reddy orange. That is actually quite pretty dry. It's not gone on like the best, but I feel like you'd pick up a bit more product and blend it out and then it would be fine. That is really pretty though. I feel like dry, that's like quite pigmented. I'm actually really happy with that. That wet is really red, like lipstick red. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's beautiful. It has like this pink hint, but that's like it. It's so nice, and it's not super deep. It is super bright and vibrant, and I think this would be like, again, gorgeous in a sunset look. It would be gorgeous in like a warm reddy pink look. I think that's what I would do with this palette, like to start with. That's what's inspiring me right now. Those two colours, Ozone and Kogi, are just like, they're what I want. Do you know what I'm saying? They're my favourites. I just dipped my nail in one of the shadows at the bottom, and now I'm sad. Well done, Jess. Well done. Good job. But anyway, next we're going to dip into this shade here. It's like a bluey purple. Like, I look at it from the side and I see purple, and then when I look at it like straight on, I see blue. It's so pretty. Look at that, that's so nice. However, that's got like blue glitter almost in it, and it's like purple undertoned. It's really nice, and it swatches really well as well. For like a cool toned look, that's going to be really pretty. That took a couple of dips dry. I just don't feel like it pops. I feel like this is what you're going to use for like a beautiful pop of like that lilac-y blue. Dry, it's not super pretty because it's not as pigmented. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know whether I like it more with a finger or wet. Probably with a finger. I normally like it a bit more with like that, but like that payoff is still really nice, and that was one dip. So if I went in again and just to touch up the swatch at the end, like look at that, you can't deny, that is gorgeous. So next we're going to dip into this like midnighty blue kind of colour, Aja. I feel like this is going to be so nice on like those, you know, like cool tone deep looks where you have like a super smoked out eye with like some dark blue and some silver. I think that's where I'm going to like use this. Ooh, it kind of translates on the arm like blacky greeny blue. Like, that is nice. I like that. Don't know where I'd use it. Yeah, I'm saying like more dark green than midnight blue actually, like a super deep green. That's pretty. It doesn't feel quite as soft as the other shimmers actually though. When like you dip your finger in to swatch, it doesn't feel quite as soft, so it doesn't like translate quite as shiny to me. However, it's really nice, like really nice. It swatches beautifully. So it's not massively different. Like, I think it's just a touch less pigmented because you're picking up like the product a touch less. But I still feel like it's really pretty actually. It's one of my favourite dries so far actually. I feel like that and Kogi have performed really well dry, and I would use that. I would totally use that dry. So most of this fallout is from using it dry, and honestly this is one of the few where I'm like, I would use this wet, I would not use this dry, I would not use this with my finger, I would use this wet. You see the glitter, you see like the green, like the proper like deep green. It has like obviously a black hue, but like you see it and I love it. I'm living for it, like look at that. So next we're going to dip into this one here, Vi. Ooh, no, to me that's like just a straight like deep silver. I like it. I feel like it's like a shade you need in this palette. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like gold is like super used these days. I feel like silver's neglected. And that's quite a nice silver. I'm sure I'm going to use that. Dry, that ain't bad either. That's nice. That has some pigment. I'm liking that. Dry, I'd use that dry. There's a bit of fallout, so that's the only thing to be like concerned with. I had to put that swatch near enough directly under because I've just like literally run out of arm space. But that's nice. It's pretty. I would probably use that wet though. Like if you see like there, that pigment is just so like concentrated. It's pretty. If I'm using it to like cut my crease, or if I'm using it as like a prominent colour, I'd use it wet, and then I could use it dry because of how pigmented it is dry to blend it with the other shadows, which I really like. This is like one of my ideal shadows in that way. Next we're going to dip into this shade here. I think it's Yamoja. That's what I'm going for. Ooh, I like that. I see a bit more like pale blue than I do in the other. That is really nice. I think the pale blue I wanted in the matte shadow is now kind of here in the shimmer. That's pretty. Like, it doesn't show up like ultra like there on camera, but it's really obvious in person. It's so pretty and silvery and gorgeous. So dry, you get that like super base shimmer. So like I can see in my viewfinder that it's like super like subtle in terms of colour and almost appears to be like as bright as the top one, but it's not. It's much more like the other ones, you know, you get less pigment, but it's still really shiny, and I love that. So if I'm going to go for like something like sheer, like a sheer sparkle with like a stronger crease, then I could go for that. I like that. That is a straight gorge pale blue shimmer. It's the most obvious I say on this one. It's super smooth, and it's super smooth when you swatch it on your finger, so it's going to be like super smooth wet. But just look at that. That is shiny as. It's perfect. So I'm going to go into this shade here, Eve. I want to say Eve. It's IFE, so I'm going with Eve. It's like a purpley colour. Like, it doesn't translate the same as it looks in the pan. If you're blending this out in the crease, I think it will be fine. But it's not like quite as like boom in your face. Like, that is pretty dark. Like, it looks patchy because I have hair on my arms. I'm a normal person. I have hair. But like, it's just really pretty and deep. I'd say it's like as deep as it is dry, which bodes well in terms of pigmentation for when you're building it up dry. But look at that, like, just boom, bright, gorgeous. So next we're going to dip into this shade here, Yara. To me, it looks like super similar to this one here. And I don't want it to be too similar because that's like a replication of a shadow, and to me that's just like a waste. So say you're still into that mermaid look, this is what I think this would be for. Like, look at that though. It's super bright. You could create your like mermaid fantasy with that. I think that's what like most of us, and by us I mean everyone else, I'm not into that mermaid fantasy, would use that for. Super pigmented, beautiful and blue, and like turquoise and green. So to me, right, this is a question for everyone out there. Is turquoise more blue or green to you? To me it's more blue. Give me your answers. I don't know. I'm not mad at this shadow dry. I feel like it went on smoother than this one did here. Like, you can see it just looks smoother than that. But like, I feel like the shimmers are smoother anyway in this palette. If you spent £30 on this palette and you've got 10 shimmers in here, you want them to be good. I just feel like most of the time the shimmers are performing a little bit better than the mattes. Look at that wet. I feel like it's like very similar to how it is with the finger, but I feel like with the finger you see like a bit more like glitter. This one's a bit more like reflective, if you know what I mean. Like, you'll know what I mean if you have like a glittery and reflective highlighter. Like, that is the difference. So it really depends on what you're going for. I feel like that one though is super pretty, like super pretty. And I would use that if I wanted it like a touch darker, which is the beauty of like having a wet shadow. It's going to transform it just a touch darker most of the time. So that's also kind of another way you can use your shadows to create like a different look. Wet, dry with your finger. I think it's going to work really well. So next we're going to dip into this shade here, Buzzo, which is a really gorgeous green. So let's start here. Ooh, that is super different. It's a really beautiful, like minty, like green. I love it. I think that's just so nice. But like, it's quite different to the normal like forest greens that you get out there that are like a bit darker than that. I think a pale green suits the theme of this palette a bit more. That's pretty good. I don't see much difference actually between that, like with the finger and dry. I feel like it's a little bit more opaque, almost like just by a touch. Do you know what I mean? There's like little almost sections missing. You get a bit of a smoother application with your finger. So I'm probably going to butcher the name of this one like the most of all. I want to say Juvia'S. Juvia'S. I'm going to go for Juvia'S. That is nice. That is midnight blue. That is what I anticipated from both that colour and Eve. I feel like I expected them to be exactly the same, and don't get me wrong, they are similar, but Eve is definitely more purple, this is definitely more midnight blue. I feel like built up like in the crease could create like a really nice deep blue smoky eye, and that's probably what I'm going to use it for, dry as like a smoky eye kind of thing. But then look how pretty that is wet. It has almost a sheen, but I think once that like dries onto the skin, that will vanish. That is nice. That is like a super like deep midnight blue. I would use that in like a smoky eye where you've got like a black fading into a blue, fading into like a pale shimmery blue. Like using Yamora with that, I think would be really nice. Really nice. That's probably what I'm going to do. I think I have like an eye look in my head that I'm going to use that for. But that's nice wet. Like, I would use that wet. That is pretty. Super pretty. But then all of the shadows in this palette have been really pretty. I'm not really too mad with any of them. I would say my most favourite is Ozun. And my least favourite is Zuba. I feel like Zuba was a bit disappointing, to be honest. And I hate to say that. I don't like to critique a palette where I don't necessarily always think it's due. Otherwise, I'm super happy with this palette. I would totally so far recommend like these shades. Like, it's such a good variety and I get the inspiration. Like, the top half is the sun, the bottom half is the moon. It's like a cool and a warm tone palette. You don't have to go out there and buy two. You can just buy this one and get both. I love it, and I love the pan size. It's pigmented. I can't say it's going to like blend well on the eyes yet. I haven't tried it, but I'm loving it so far, so I'm probably going to like create some looks with it. If you follow my Instagram, you may see some looks using this on my Instagram shortly. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. So if you like this swatch video, then please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel before you leave to see kind of more content. And if you press that notification bell, you'll be notified every time I upload. Thank you for watching.